Dr. Brenner didn't work for Hawkins Lab. He worked for the Foundation. And Henry CREEL wasn't Patient 1. He was SCP-001-CREEL, the first successful breach into Dimension X, what civilians call the Upside Down, which the Foundation has been studying since 1943. Every teenager Vecna killed opened a gate. 4 gates, 4 victims. And when they converged, it wasn't just Hawkins that tore apart. It was reality. Because the Upside Down isn't another dimension, it's the Foundation's failed containment protocol, a pocket reality they created to store the most dangerous SCPs. And Vecna just opened the door. Everything you thought you knew about Stranger Things, that was the cover story. This is SCP-001-CREEL, the entity that became a god by consuming every anomaly the Foundation ever locked away. The Foundation established Site X in Hawkins, Indiana in 1959. For one reason, the town sits on a dimensional weak point, a natural tear in space-time where reality is thinner. Perfect for interdimensional research, perfect for containing things that shouldn't exist. They disguised it as Hawkins National Laboratory, hired Dr. Martin Brenner, a specialist in psychic development and dimensional manipulation, and they started Project MK Ultra, not the CIA version, the real version. The Foundation needed psychic children, reality benders who could interact with Dimension X, who could open gates, who could control the entities living there. So Brenner created them, took children with latent abilities, exposed them to compounds extracted from Dimension X, enhanced their powers through trauma and conditioning. Standard Foundation procedure. Henry CREEL was different. He wasn't created by Brenner, he was funded by Brenner. In 1959, the CREEL family moved to Hawkins. 11-year-old Henry discovered something in a cave near his home. Equipment. Foundation equipment from the original 1943 Dimension X experiments. Inside a containment vessel was what the Foundation called the Mind Flayer's essence, pure psychic energy from Dimension X, concentrated malevolence. Henry touched it. It merged with him, changed his blood, gave him powers no Foundation experiment had ever achieved. Telekinesis, telepathy, reality manipulation, mind control, and something worse, a psychic link to Dimension X itself. He could feel everything in that dimension, every creature, every entity, every horror the Foundation had banished there. The Mind Flayer wasn't controlling Henry. Henry was the Mind Flayer, or becoming it. The essence he absorbed was teaching him, showing him that humanity was the anomaly, that people were the infection in reality, that Dimension X, the Upside Down, was pure, unspoiled, perfect. And Henry could remake our world to match it. He started with his family, psychologically tortured them, killed his mother and sister, put his father Victor in a psychiatric facility. Classic reality bender escalation pattern. The Foundation classified it as a Keter-class emergence event. Brenner was ordered to contain Henry immediately. But Brenner saw opportunity. Henry wasn't dangerous. He was valuable, the most powerful psychic the Foundation had ever documented. So Brenner made a deal with O5 Command. Let him study Henry, use him to create more psychics, weaponize the Dimension X connection. In exchange, Brenner would keep Henry contained via a neural inhibitor implanted in his neck. For 2 decades, it worked. Henry became Subject 001, the template for every other psychic child. His abilities were replicated, diluted, and implanted in Subjects 002 through 015. They called them the Numbers. Each one a weapon. Each one connected to Dimension X through Henry's template. Then came Subject 011. 11, the strongest of all the numbers. And Henry's mistake. He manipulated her into removing his inhibitor, told her they could escape together, rebuild the world, make it pure. When she refused, when she saw what he really was, When she understood his connection to Dimension X wasn't a power, but a possession, she fought back. Subscribe, because what I'm about to reveal explains why the Foundation let Henry get banished, why they wanted him in Dimension X, and why Vecna's curse isn't killing people, it's harvesting them. 11 didn't just defeat Henry, she opened a rift, threw him through it, into Dimension X, into the pocket reality the Foundation had been using as a prison for 70 years. And Henry arrived in a realm full of SCPs, hundreds of entities, creatures, anomalies, everything too dangerous to keep in our dimension, all contained in one place. And Henry absorbed them, all of them. His psychic link to Dimension X let him access the hive mind of every creature there. The Demogorgons, the Mind Flayer, the Vines, the Shadow Particles, everything. He didn't just survive Dimension X. He conquered it, became its ruler, its general, its God. When he emerged years later as Vecna, he wasn't just Henry CREEL anymore. He was a composite entity. Hundreds of SCPs merged into one consciousness. Every anomaly's power, every creature's ability, all contained in one burned, twisted, nearly indestructible form connected to Dimension X through organic vines that fed him constant power. The Foundation classified him as SCP-001-CREEL, Keter class, potential XK class end-of-the-world scenario, and they developed the Vecna Protocol, total information suppression. Make civilians think it's just a TV show. Make the public believe Stranger Things is fiction. Hide the truth behind entertainment. Standard Foundation memetic containment. But Vecna's curse, that's where the Foundation really screwed up. They thought he was killing teenagers randomly, targeting trauma victims, opening gates to invade our world. Wrong. Vecna was harvesting. Each victim's consciousness was absorbed into his mindscape. Their trauma, their memories, their reality became part of him. He wasn't opening gates. He was collecting data, building a database of human consciousness, learning how we think, how we feel, how we perceive reality. Because here's what the Foundation discovered too late. Vecna isn't trying to merge Dimension X with our world. He's trying to rewrite our world using the collective consciousness of his victims, make reality match his vision, turn Earth into an extension of Dimension X, where he controls everything, where human suffering fuels his power, where he becomes the dominant consciousness defining what's real. The Foundation thought they stopped him. 11 restarted Max's heart after Vecna's 4th kill. The gates didn't fully converge. Hawkins was damaged but survived. Vecna retreated. Mission accomplished. Containment maintained. Except Max didn't wake up. She fell into a coma. And when 11 tried to find Max's consciousness, she couldn't. Max wasn't in her own mind. She was in Vecna's mind, trapped, stored, processed. That's when the Foundation realized Vecna succeeded. Max was the 4th victim. The 4th gate opened, the ritual completed, just not the way they expected. The gates didn't need to physically converge. They converged in Vecna's mindscape, inside his consciousness, in that red fog realm where he stores his victims. 4 gates, 4 pieces of reality, all contained inside one entity. And Max wasn't the first. Chrissy Cunningham, Fred Benson, Patrick McKinney, Max Mayfield. 4 victims, 4 consciousnesses, 4 fragments of human reality absorbed into Vecna. Their fears, their traumas, their perception of the world, all feeding his database. But the Foundation found something worse in classified files. Vecna didn't stop at 4. Between 1979, when Henry was banished, and 1986, when he emerged as Vecna, there were hundreds of missing persons in Hawkins. People who disappeared without explanation. No bodies, no evidence, just gone. The Foundation cross-referenced them with Dimension X sensor data. Every single disappearance coincided with psychic energy spikes originating from Vecna's location in the Upside Down. He'd been cursing people for 7 years, building his database, collecting consciousness, preparing. Mex was just the final piece, the one that completed the convergence. The one that gave Vecna enough human consciousness data to attempt his next move, rewriting consensus reality. If enough human minds believe something is real, it becomes real. That's how reality benders work. That's how the Foundation contains them. Control the narrative, control belief, control reality. But Vecna has hundreds of human consciousnesses in his mindscape. Hundreds of people who now believe his reality, who perceive the world through his trauma, through his hatred of humanity, through his vision of perfection. And consciousness doesn't die when the body does. It persists, trapped, serving him. Follow for part 2, because what I'm revealing next explains why the Foundation just declared Hawkins an Apollyon-class breach zone, why they're evacuating everyone within 50 miles, and why 11 might be the only person who can stop Vecna, because she's actually SCP-001. The Foundation's countermeasure. The weapon they built to kill their first mistake. Here's what the Foundation won't tell you. Here's the classified intel that'll get this video deleted. 11 isn't a victim of Brenner's experiments. She's a clone. A genetic copy of Henry CREEL created using his pre-transformation DNA. They made her specifically to counter him, gave her all his abilities, all his potential, but raised her with love instead of trauma, with connection instead of isolation, made her everything Henry could have been if the Mind Flayer essence hadn't corrupted him. She's not Subject 11 because she was the 11th test subject. She's 11 because in Foundation designation, that's the Muro of 01. The opposite, the counterweight, the anti-Vecna. They'd been preparing her for this fight since she was born. Every power she developed, every battle she survived, every time she saved the world. It was all training, all preparation for the moment when she'd have to face SCP-001-CREEL in his own mindscape, in the red fog realm where he stores his victims, where reality bends to his will, where she'd have to fight him using nothing but consciousness versus consciousness, will versus will. And here's the nightmare. Max is still in there, along with hundreds of others. If 11 kills Vecna, what happens to them? Do they die too? Do they get released? Or do they become orphaned? Consciousness fragments drifting in a destroyed mindscape. The Foundation doesn't know, but they've authorized the operation anyway. Codename, Vecna Protocol Final Phase. Sacrifice the trapped minds to eliminate the threat. Standard containment procedure. Except 11 refused. Said she's going in to save Max, to free all of Vecna's victims, to do what the Foundation never does, choose humanity over containment. And if she succeeds, if she actually manages to break Vecna's mindscape from the inside, every consciousness he's absorbed gets released simultaneously. Hundreds of human minds returning to bodies that have been dead for years, or worse, returning to reality without bodies, becoming ghosts, anomalies, new SCPs. The Foundation calculated the odds. 97% chance 11 dies. 84% chance Vecna survives. 69% chance of a cascading reality failure if she wins. But she's going anyway. Next video, I'm revealing what happens when she enters Vecna's mindscape, the entities she encounters there, the SCPs that Vecna absorbed, the original Mind Flayer that started everything, and why the Foundation is preparing a nuclear option called the Scarlet King Protocol. Because if Vecna can't be stopped, they're bringing in something worse to kill him. Something that's been contained since the Foundation's creation. Something that makes Vecna look like a test subject. Subscribe now. Share this before it's deleted. And remember, Hawkins isn't in Indiana. It's wherever the Foundation decides to put their next Site X. It could be your town, your dimension, your reality. And when you start hearing grandfather clocks that don't exist, when your trauma comes alive in your nightmares, when you feel vines in your sleep, you'll know. Vecna found you, and the Foundation isn't coming to save you. They're coming to study what he does to you, to add your data to their files, to learn from your death. Sweet dreams, Hawkins. The Vecna protocol is active, and nobody escapes Dimension X.